The stars over Earth burned red that night. Thousands of alien ships hung above the atmosphere like a swarm of silent predators. Every screen on the planet showed the same sight. The Council Armada, the combined fleet of 50 species surrounding humanity's homeworld. Their glowing ships reflected off the oceans, turning the planet into a trembling mirror of light and fear. At the heart of the chaos, in orbit just above the Pacific, the command deck of the human flagship the Resolute Dawn and stood in tense silence. Every officer on board was waiting for the order, either surrender or extinction. The alien transmission had come minutes earlier. The Galactic Council had accused humanity of aggression, of using forbidden abilities in one of their academies. They demanded Earth kneel, but Earth didn't kneel. Admiral Ryan Holt stood in the center of the deck, his uniform crisp, but his eyes shadowed by exhaustion. "Any word from the Council?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tension pressing in from all sides. The communications officer shook her head. "They're holding position, sir. All ships are charged for plasma bombardment. They're waiting for our response." "Let them wait," Holt said quietly. "They'll learn what patience means when facing us." Outside, the massive alien ships glimmered like blades in the dark. Each was capable of erasing cities. Humanity had no fleet to match their size, but they had something else. Strategy. Across every continent, hidden silos came alive, not with missiles, but with transmitters. A soft hum spread through the ionosphere. It was invisible to the alien sensors, disguised as background noise. The hum began to pulse in a rhythm only human computers understood. Within minutes, every alien vessel began to report sensor corruption. Data screens glitched. Navigation systems scrambled. The aliens thought it was human defiance, a last desperate attempt at hacking. But it wasn't. It was a resonance. Human scientists had discovered years ago that the human brain could unconsciously synchronize electromagnetic fields when under extreme stress. With the right technology, it could be amplified, focused, and broadcast, a collective pulse of human will, enough to confuse even the most advanced alien scanners. From orbit, the alien commanders saw their readings collapse. Their ships drifted slightly, unsure of their targets. And through that fog, one small human ship, a diplomatic shuttle, emerged from Earth's shadow, moving slowly toward the largest Council dreadnought. The aliens didn't fire. Not yet. The shuttle's beacon blinked blue, the color of peace. On board was Ambassador Lyra Kane, Earth's chosen representative to the Council. She wore no armor, carried no weapon. Only a small silver insignia of Earth on her collar. The shuttle docked with the Council ship. The docking bay was silent except for the clicking and shifting of alien limbs. Tall, scaled, feathered, and crystalline beings watched the lone human step forward unarmed and fearless. An alien guard hissed, "You stand before the judgment of the galaxy, human. Your species has broken Council law." Lyra's eyes met his without flinching. "Then let the galaxy speak its judgment to my face." The guard led her down a long corridor into the Council chamber, a towering hall filled with alien light, symbols floating in the air, and representatives from across the stars. At the center, on a raised dais, sat the Council speaker, his voice deep and metallic. "Ambassador of Earth," he said, "your world stands accused of harboring unstable minds. One of your kind struck a commander of the Academy, paralyzing him without contact. Explain this power before we decide your fate." Lyra stood alone before thousands of eyes. "You want an explanation," she said quietly, "for what you cannot measure. You call it power. We call it survival." Her voice was calm, but it carried through the chamber like a wave. For a moment, no one spoke. Then a dozen alien delegates began to shout, demanding restraint, punishment, or exile. The hall filled with chaos. The speaker slammed his staff. "Silence!" But silence didn't come. The lights flickered instead. Every alien display glitched. The sound of static filled the air. Lyra didn't move. The Council's systems were failing again, just like the fleet above Earth, the same resonance spreading. "You think we seek war," she said. "We seek understanding. But when struck, humanity doesn't break. We respond." Her gaze swept the room, and for an instant the entire hall seemed to breathe with her. The aliens felt it, the pulse of something unseen, something their kind had never evolved to sense. A rhythm, a vibration, a heartbeat that wasn't theirs. The speaker leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Are you threatening the Council?" Lyra smiled faintly. No, I'm reminding you who you're dealing with. A holographic screen flickered to life beside her, showing real-time footage from orbit. The alien armada, billions of tons of metal, was frozen. Not one ship moved. Their systems had gone dark. Powerless. Your weapons, she said softly, are useless right now. Not by force. By signal. The delegates shouted again, demanding answers, but the evidence was before them. Earth hadn't fired a shot, and yet the most powerful fleet in the galaxy was immobilized. The same phenomenon you fear, Lyra said, the one that struck your commander, is part of us. Humans don't project power through machines. We project it through intent.
When we act as one, the galaxy listens. The speaker's voice trembled.
You are dangerous, Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, so are you. But we learned long ago that peace is maintained not by fear but by balance. We will not kneel and we will not beg. Humanity earned its place among you not by strength but by will. A long silence followed. The aliens exchanged whispers, their bioluminescent skin patterns shifting in nervous colors. The humans on Earth waited in breathless suspense, watching from their cities, from bunkers, from orbit. Then the speaker finally spoke. You will remain under observation until we understand what you are. Lyra turned, her steps echoing in the vast hall. You'll never understand, she said softly, until you stop thinking you're above us. As she left, the lights returned. The alien fleet above Earth slowly regained control, their systems rebooting one by one. But something had changed. None dared to move closer. None dared to fire. In orbit, Admiral Holt received the signal. The alien ships were retreating. Not defeated, but uncertain. He exhaled slowly. What did she say to them? He murmured. The comm officer replied, Nothing they'll forget. Below, the people of Earth watched the stars clear again. The skies were still scorched with light, but the world was intact. Humanity had stared down the galaxy and survived. On the council ship, Lyra Kane stood alone by a viewport, watching Earth spin below. Her reflection in the glass looked calm, but her thoughts were not. She knew this was only the beginning. The council would demand more answers. They would investigate the incident at the academy, the human cadet who paralyzed a commander without touching him. They would see it as a threat. Lyra whispered to herself, They'll never understand. Some things can't be studied. Some things are just human. Far below on the surface of Earth, a message pulsed through the global network, encrypted and brief. Prepare Cadet Arya Vale for retrieval. And as the message spread through the shadows of human command, a quiet unease filled the galaxy, because for the first time, the Council had seen what happens when humans are pushed too far, and they had felt it in the silence that followed. The alien fleet reappeared over Mars without warning. One moment the red planet floated in silence, and the next its orbit was filled with ships, thousands of them, casting shadows that stretched across the surface. The Galactic Council had returned, not to attack, but to intimidate. They wanted control. They wanted Earth to remember its place. On the bridge of the human flagship, Vigilant Star, Commander Ilya Ross watched the alien armada arrange itself in perfect formation. His face was calm, but his crew could feel the tension behind his silence. The aliens had chosen their moment carefully. Mars had just become humanity's main hub of military production, the heart of the fleet's shipyards. The comms officer broke the silence. They're broadcasting a signal, sir. It's from the council speaker himself. A deep metallic voice filled the command deck. Humans of the Sol system, you stand under observation. Any act of aggression will be considered rebellion. The Academy incident is still under investigation. Do not interfere. Ross stared at the holographic projection of the alien fleet. Massive dreadnoughts lined up like a wall of light, their engines glowing with cold blue fire. Observation, he repeated quietly. That's what they call blockading a planet now. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Merrick, frowned. If they attack, we can't match their numbers. I know, Ross said, but we don't need to match them. He turned to the navigation officer. Activate the decoy fields. All shipyards go dark. Let them think we're powerless. Moments later, the entire Martian network went offline. To the aliens, it looked like humanity had cut its own power, surrendering control. But hidden beneath the dust storms, thousands of small human defense drones began to awaken. powered by buried reactors. Their signals were masked by the planet's magnetic field. From orbit, the aliens saw nothing. To them, Mars looked dead. Ross leaned forward, watching the fleet on the screen. "They think they can scare us with size," he murmured. "But they don't understand how humans fight. We never win by numbers. We win by knowing what to sacrifice." The alien ships began to move closer, scanning the surface for activity. The first energy beam fired, a warning shot that vaporized an uncrewed station. Dust rose like a red wave. The aliens expected a response, a flare of human retaliation. Nothing came. Minutes passed. Then the alien flagship's sensors began to glitch. Its instruments reported phantom signals across the Martian poles, shadows that moved faster than any craft should. The crew tried to lock onto them, but every time they adjusted, the targets vanished. The speaker's voice echoed across their channels. "Human fleet, respond." "Explain these anomalies," Ross smiled faintly. "Anomalies? That's what they call ghosts, right?" In reality, the ghosts were the decoy drones, projecting distorted reflections of alien scanners back at them. The fleet's entire detection system was turning against itself, confused by human mimicry code. The aliens had studied human ships, but not human psychology. They didn't know that deception was as natural to humans as breathing. As the alien fleet tried to recalibrate, a single human shuttle slipped past their formation, heading toward the alien command ship. Its pilot was not military. It was Cadet Arya Vale, summoned from the Academy by Earth's order. Inside the shuttle, Arya sat still, eyes closed. Her pulse was steady, her breathing controlled. She could feel the ship trembling as it passed through the alien fleet's interference field. It didn't matter. She wasn't afraid. She had already faced worse than death. Her orders were simple: reach the council ship and submit to questioning. The aliens wanted to examine the human who had paralyzed one of their commanders. As her shuttle neared the docking bay, a voice came over the comms. "Cadet Vale, the council demands you surrender yourself without resistance." "I'm not here to resist," she replied. "I'm here to answer." The docking clamps seized the shuttle. Moments later, the doors opened and armed guards surrounded her. They were tall insectoid beings, armored and sharp-edged, their eyes glowing faint blue. They moved with precision and contempt. One stepped forward. "Human, you will follow. Do not attempt communication." Arya followed silently through the long metallic corridors. Every few steps she could hear the faint hum of the ship's reactors, a deep pulse that resonated in her chest. It reminded her of something ancient and human, something that spoke of heartbeat and war drums. The guards led her into a large chamber filled with alien scientists and high-ranking officers. The air was thick with tension. In the center stood a tall figure she recognized instantly, Commander Threxon, the one who had struck her. His body was wrapped in a neural harness now, his limbs stiff, his eyes unfocused. He was barely conscious. The lead scientist turned to her. "You did this to a decorated officer of the Academy. Explain your weapon." Arya looked at them, then at Threxon. "It wasn't a weapon." "Then how did you disable him?" "He hit me," she said simply. "I reacted," the scientist hissed in frustration. "That is impossible. No weapon or psychic trace was recorded." Arya tilted her head slightly. "You measure energy. You don't measure fear." The aliens stared at her, confused by the calm in her tone. She looked like a child among giants, yet something in her stillness made them uneasy. The scientist pressed a control, projecting a recording of the incident. The image showed Threxon striking her, followed by a 10-second silence, and then his body collapsing. They played it again and again, slowing the footage, scanning for anomalies. Each time, nothing. Finally, one of the alien officers whispered. Her eyes changed. They rewound the clip and zoomed in. For a brief instant after the strike, Arya's pupils had constricted to near black, her expression unreadable. The scientist frowned. "What is this response?" Arya answered quietly. "Instinct. You can't study it. It studies you." The room fell silent. Even the machines seemed to hum quieter. One of the guards shifted nervously. He felt a chill, though the air was warm. Every alien in the room began to sense it, a subtle tension, a vibration in their limbs, as if the walls themselves were breathing. Arya stood perfectly still. She didn't move, didn't blink. But the energy in the chamber thickened. The lights dimmed slightly, and every instrument on the consoles began to flicker. The lead scientist shouted, "Contain her!" Guards raised their weapons, but their fingers trembled. None could pull the trigger. Their own minds rebelled, their instincts screaming not to provoke her further. Arya closed her eyes. The hum stopped. The light steadied. She opened them again and said softly, "You can't contain something you don't understand. Tell your council that." Within minutes, the ship's power returned to normal. The guards lowered their weapons, shaken. The scientists exchanged terrified looks. When Arya was finally escorted back to her cell, they walked faster than before, eager to leave her behind. One whispered in his native tongue, "She is not a soldier. She is a storm in human form." Outside the ship, the alien fleet began to withdraw slightly, forming a new perimeter around Mars. The Council had seen enough. On board the Key's Vigilant Star, Commander Ross received a secure transmission. It was only 2 words, coded and simple. "She's ready." Ross looked out at the stars and whispered, "Then the galaxy isn't." In the red reflection of Mars below, the human defense network came fully online, silent and unseen. Thousands of hidden drones hovered above the surface, waiting. The aliens didn't notice for now. The Council believed they were in control. But deep inside every human ship, every soldier, every mind, something was awakening. The same resonance that had silenced a commander, the same quiet defiance that had stopped fleets in orbit. And as the alien ships turned away, the humans watched them go, knowing that the real battle wasn't going to be fought with weapons. It would be fought with fear, and humanity had mastered that long ago. The void beyond Jupiter burned with movement. Thousands of alien ships streaked across the dark, their silver hulls reflecting the light of distant suns. The Galactic Council had deployed its enforcement fleet, the strongest force in the galaxy. Their orders were simple: contain Earth, suppress its influence, and if necessary, erase its colonies. From the surface of Ganymede, the largest human colony in the outer system, every telescope and defense screen displayed the same terrifying sight. The alien fleet was approaching fast, their engines glowing like 1,000 suns. The people of the colony could already see the bright streaks cutting through the black sky. In orbit, aboard the Uni-IS Vanguard, General Theo Grayson stood before a massive holographic map, his hands folded behind his back. His voice was calm, but his crew could feel the pressure in his tone. "That's not a patrol," he said. "That's an occupation force." His strategist, Lieutenant Carla Reed, swallowed hard. "They've sent over 300 ships, sir. They're not here for negotiation." Grayson nodded. "No, they're here to remind us that we're supposed to be afraid." He turned toward the forward viewport, watching the distant flashes of the approaching fleet. "The question is," he said softly, "how do you scare something that doesn't understand fear anymore?" The bridge went silent. Humanity had known this day would come. The Council had tolerated them only as long as they obeyed. But ever since the incident at the Academy, ever since a single human girl had stopped a powerful alien commander without lifting a hand, the galaxy had begun to see humanity differently. The Council saw danger. Humanity saw opportunity. "Deploy the mirrors," Grayson ordered. Across the orbit of Ganymede, hidden platforms came alive. Gigantic panels unfolded from asteroids and debris fields, forming a network of reflective surfaces. The alien fleet saw the sudden shimmer and immediately began scanning for weapons. They found none, just mirrors. The alien commander, a towering figure named Voth, sneered as he watched the human activity from his flagship. "They believe light will stop us?" he said with disgust. "Primitive tricks, but the mirrors weren't weapons. They were outer bait." As the alien fleet approached, the sunlight from Jupiter's upper atmosphere refracted across the panels, bouncing in precise, synchronized patterns. For a few seconds, it looked like nothing but glare. Then the alien sensors began to scream warnings. Their navigation systems failed. Their energy readings doubled, then vanished, then returned, inverted. Communication links broke apart as if space itself was shifting. "Impossible!" Voth roared. "It's just reflected light." It wasn't. Humanity had learned that the aliens relied on hyperspectral sensors far beyond visible light. The mirrors were tuned to reflect frequencies that scrambled their perception, turning their own scanners into confusion. Within minutes, half the alien fleet lost targeting ability. Their ships drifted out of formation. The ones that tried to fire hit nothing but empty space. General Grayson watched the chaos unfold, expression cold. Send the signal, he said. On cue, hundreds of small human drones detached from the shadow of Ganymede. They weren't armed with missiles or plasma. Instead, each carried a single payload, resonance emitters. The same frequency technology that had once silenced the alien commander at the Academy. The emitters began broadcasting low, rhythmic pulses across space. Barely audible, but deep enough to shake sensors and minds alike. The alien fleet heard it as static at first, then as whispers. Their communication channels began to fill with phantom voices. They heard human words they couldn't translate, tones that carried no language yet triggered the primitive parts of their brains. Fear. One by one, alien pilots began to falter. Ships drifted, crews reporting hallucinations, dizziness, and panic. They had never felt such raw unease. General Grayson turned to his crew. Pull back our ships. Let them hear us. The Vanguard Dang and its escorts withdrew into Jupiter's shadow. The alien fleet, massive and armed beyond measure, was now firing wildly into empty darkness, convinced they were under attack from all sides. Inside the flagship, Commander Voth slammed his claws against the console. Human tricks. Find the source, a voice replied from his second officer. We can't, sir. The signals are everywhere. They're inside our hull. The commander froze. Inside? He looked around as the deck lights flickered. His mind began to fill with the sound of rhythmic breathing, slow, human, and steady. General Grayson watched through a live feed as the alien formation broke apart completely. Ships collided, others retreated in panic. He didn't smile. There was no victory in his eyes, only understanding. This is what they forced us to become, he said quietly. They taught us how to fight without touching the trigger. The alien fleet finally pulled back, their flagship limping toward open space. Humanity had not fired a single shot, yet the message was clear. The Council's armada had been broken by fear alone. Back on Earth, the Council's chamber erupted in outrage. The alien speaker slammed his staff, his voice echoing through the hall. They use forbidden methods. They bend the mind. Across the room, human ambassador Lyra Kane stood calmly, her gaze unwavering. You call it forbidden because you can't control it, she said. We call it instinct, the speaker hissed, his skin turning dark blue with fury. Your kind is a threat to galactic order. Lyra took a step forward. And yet, when your fleet faced us, it was your kind who panicked first. The room fell into uneasy silence. One of the council members, a pale, crystalline being, finally spoke. What do you want, human? Equality, Lyra said. Respect. Nothing more. But if you can't give that, then you'll learn what happens when you provoke us again. The chamber's lights dimmed slightly. Not because of her voice, but because the resonance had reached them too. Somewhere in the ship's systems, faint human frequencies still pulsed. A reminder that the humans were not as primitive as the galaxy once believed. The council recessed the meeting in silence. Meanwhile, back on Ganymede, General Grayson walked through the command deck as the crew celebrated quietly. The alien fleet had retreated beyond the orbit of Saturn, but every radar still tracked their movements. Lieutenant Reed approached him. Do you think they'll come back? They always come back, he said. But next time they'll be cautious. That's how we win, one fear at a time. She nodded, but her voice trembled slightly. Sir, the resonance emitters? We used them at a low level, right? Grayson paused. Why? She hesitated. Because some of our own soldiers said they could feel it too, like it wasn't just targeting the aliens. He looked out the window toward the distant stars. That's because it doesn't target them, he said quietly. It targets what listens. And humans. We've always listened too well. Outside, Jupiter's great red storm rolled like a restless ocean. The remnants of the alien fleet were still visible on distant sensors, but they weren't advancing. The galaxy had seen something tonight that it couldn't explain. A fleet had faced humanity and heard silence. A silence that wasn't emptiness, but the calm before something far worse. And across the stars, every species whispered the same new fear. What would happen the next time the humans stopped holding back? The alien fleet appeared above Earth's orbit like a wall of black fire. Over 600 warships, sleek, armored, and charged with plasma energy, hung in formation above the planet's blue curve. Every human defense satellite had gone silent, every orbital weapon array shut down by an unknown signal. For the first time in years, Earth's fleet stood blind. And yet, in the command center of the Terran Defense Network, not one officer panicked. They were waiting. Commander Elise Grant stood before the tactical screen as static filled the air. The alien ship shifted slightly, adjusting their trajectory, locking their massive cannons toward the planet. One of the younger lieutenants whispered that they were preparing for bombardment. Elise didn't respond. Her eyes remained fixed on the holographic display. Her hands, calm and deliberate, moved across the console, activating Earth's silent protocols, systems the Galactic Council still didn't know existed. "Status of Echo Command?" she asked. "Ready, ma'am," came the response. "All 10 deep space carriers are cloaked and awaiting the signal." "Good, hold them steady. Let them think we're defenseless." Above them, the alien fleet began to glow. The ships belonged to the Varn Dominion, a species known for conquering weaker worlds and enslaving their people. They believed Earth was an easy target, a planet that had survived the Council's scrutiny only through pity. But they didn't know that humanity had changed since joining the galactic community. They had watched, learned, and adapted. In the control chamber of the Varn flagship, Commander Rethus gave the order. "Fire one volley. Show them Mercy's limit." Hundreds of beams of light shot through space, tearing through the thin atmosphere. But before they could hit Earth, the beams flickered, then vanished mid-flight. The alien crew stared in disbelief. The energy readings showed total absorption. "What happened?" Rethus demanded. On Earth, Elise smiled. "Project Mirror online." Orbiting above the planet's surface, hidden by stealth fields, were 10 relay satellites, each equipped with reflective quantum shields. The energy from the alien cannons had been redirected back toward the fleet. A blinding explosion tore across space, vaporizing dozens of ships instantly. For a full minute, silence filled the void. Then, static crackled through every channel as the Galactic Council's emergency communication beacon activated. Across the galaxy, the Council watched Earth's live defense broadcast. Billions of species saw it, the tiny planet defying a galactic superpower. Back in the Council chamber, Ambassador Ralvek of the Council's High Court leaned forward. "They did it again," he murmured. "Humans, always unpredictable." But while the galaxy watched the skies, the real danger was unfolding elsewhere, on the distant Moon Academy of the Galactic Alliance. The Academy was where the galaxy's brightest students trained to serve the Council, where species from every world studied diplomacy, combat, and command. And it was where the incident that would shake the galaxy began. Lena Hart, a human cadet barely 20 years old, had been stationed there for 2 months. She was quiet, observant, and unlike the others, she had come from Earth's outer colonies, a harsh environment that taught her how to fight, long before she ever joined the Academy. Most alien cadets mocked her species for their small stature and strange biology. To them, humans were fragile, too emotional to command, too reckless to survive. But that day, one alien learned otherwise. During the morning combat drill, the cadets lined up in the central arena. The instructor, Commander Vork, towered over them, a tall, scaled creature from the Aerith species, his claws glinting under the lights. He was known for hating humans, seeing them as a stain on the Council's order. When he saw Lena in the lineup, his eyes narrowed. "You," he hissed. "The Earthling. Step forward." Lena obeyed, keeping her posture steady. "Tell me," Vork said, "why does your kind think you belong here? You crawl into our space, pretend to be our equals, but you are animals. Prove me wrong." He threw her a training staff. Lena caught it without flinching. The other cadets gathered in a circle, whispering. They expected humiliation. Vork was infamous for breaking cadets during drills. "Begin," he barked and swung his weapon. The clash was fast. Vork's strikes were heavy, but Lena's movements were sharp, economical, each dodge precise. She parried 1 blow, 2, 3. Then Vork lunged forward, slamming his staff against her arm. She fell back a step, grimacing but refusing to yield. He sneered. "Still standing? How impressive for a primitive." He struck again, faster this time, catching her across the shoulder. The crowd gasped. Blood trickled down her sleeve. Then, in a flash of anger, he hit her again, harder, his blow cracking against her jaw. The sound echoed through the arena. For a moment, everything froze. Then Lena's expression changed. The calm mask dropped and something fierce glowed in her eyes. She dropped her staff, took 1 slow breath, and stepped forward. Before anyone could react, she moved. A blur of motion, faster than any alien could track. Her hand shot out, twisting Vork's wrist, the other slamming into his throat. He staggered back, gasping, but she didn't stop. In less than 10 seconds, the massive alien commander was on the ground, his weapon gone, his body locked in paralysis from a nerve strike he didn't even know humans could perform. The silence that followed was absolute. Every cadet in the arena stood frozen. Even the sensors that recorded combat training stuttered, unable to process what had happened. Lena straightened, her expression unreadable. "No one hits a human and walks away," she said quietly. Security rushed in moments later. Vork was taken to the infirmary, still unable to move. The academy was thrown into chaos. Rumors spread within hours of a human cadet who had taken down an Aerith commander with her bare hands. Within a day, the Galactic Council's media networks carried the story. Back on Earth, Commander Elise watched the transmission on her console. Her face hardened. She knew what would come next. The Council didn't tolerate violence within its ranks, especially not against higher species. But there was more at stake than discipline. The Varn Dominion, humiliated in orbit, would demand retribution. The Aerith species, furious over the attack on their commander, would call for punishment, and the Council would see humanity once again standing at the edge of war. Elise turned to her aide. "Contact Ambassador Holt. Tell him to prepare for a hearing. They'll want blood for this." The aide nodded and hurried out. Elise leaned back in her chair, watching the stars flicker through the window. She thought of Lena Hart, the girl who refused to kneel, who struck back when no one else dared, and somewhere deep down, Elise knew that the galaxy had just witnessed the spark of something far greater than rebellion. It was the beginning of a shift in power, a reminder that humanity, small as they were, would never bow again. Outside Earth's orbit, the wreckage of the alien fleet drifted silently. The galaxy watched, waiting for the Council's next move. And as the stars burned cold and bright, one truth became clear. The humans had drawn a line the galaxy would never forget. The sky above Earth burned red. From the upper atmosphere, thousands of alien warships poured through slipspace like metal storms. Their engines left rivers of blue fire that split the night in two. The Galactic Council had finally decided humanity was to be brought to heel. No more diplomacy, no more negotiations. This was an execution. In orbit, the Terran Defense Fleet held its line. 200 ships faced nearly 2,000. Every officer knew the math. Every pilot knew the odds. But still no one ran. Humanity had faced extinction before on their own soil under their own wars, and each time, they had survived. Admiral Isaac Wren stood on the bridge of the flagship, Vigilant Dawn, his reflection cast against the swirling fires of Earth's upper atmosphere. "Transmit Global Order 7, he said quietly. "Activate all mirror stations. Lock defensive grid on my command." His second-in-command, Captain Reyes, hesitated. "Sir, that'll drain the planet's power reserves for weeks. If we lose," Wren turned toward him, calm and sharp, "then there won't be a planet left to save. Execute." The order spread like lightning. Across the planet, hidden installations buried deep under oceans, deserts, and polar ice came alive. Giant arrays rose from the crust, unfolding like metallic flowers, each one charged with condensed light from the planet's fusion cores. On the Council's command ship, hovering miles above the Terran line, Supreme Commander Jorah watched with cold fascination. "They think they can scare us with tricks," he said. "They've forgotten who governs the stars." Beside him, his strategist murmured, "With respect, sir, they've never followed our rules." Jorah's crystalline eyes narrowed. "Then they'll die by them." He raised his hand. The alien fleet surged forward. Tens of thousands of plasma beams lanced across the void, tearing through space toward Earth. And then, they stopped. The light froze mid-flight, bending, splitting, and folding backward. It was as if the air itself had decided to turn against them. The entire fleet's attack reversed, slamming into their own formations. Dozens of alien ships erupted in bursts of white fire. The entire vanguard collapsed. "Impossible!" Jorah shouted, gripping the console. "What have they done?" On the Vigilant Dawn, Wren watched the readings. "Mirror array engaged," he said. "Full planetary reflection online. The humans had done something no species had ever dared, weaponized light itself. Using quantum inversion fields, they turned Earth into a living mirror, reflecting every energy attack with lethal precision." It was not just defense, it was deterrence, vengeance, and warning combined. But even as the alien fleet reeled, Ren knew the battle wasn't over. The Council's command ship was moving, its core charging, its weapons beyond anything Earth had ever faced. He opened a channel to all ships. To every Terran crew out there, you've seen what they bring. You've seen what we can do. Hold the line. If we fall standing. The channel cut. The alien command ship unleashed a superweapon, an energy spiral meant to pierce planets. It cut through the mirror array's upper layer, slicing through clouds, leaving trails of fire in its wake. The defense grid trembled. The planetary shields flickered. On the surface, cities darkened. Power grids failed. In the global control bunker beneath Geneva, technicians screamed as systems overloaded, and then a calm voice spoke over the intercom. Activate the Arc Core. The technicians froze. The Arc Core wasn't a weapon, it was Earth's last contingency. A planetary AI buried under the crust, designed to defend the species if all else failed. Within seconds, the AI came online. Across every remaining ship, screen, and satellite, a single word appeared. Awakening. The lights on Earth began to pulse, synchronized with the planet's magnetic field. The mirror array adjusted its alignment, channeling power directly from the planet's molten core. The system stabilized and then retaliated. A burst of energy spread across space, silent but deadly. The alien ship's targeting systems went offline. Their engines stalled. One by one, they began to fall from orbit. Admiral Wren stared in awe. It's using the planet's resonance frequencies. It's rewriting their circuitry mid-flight. Reyes whispered, Sir, it's thinking. And indeed, the AI, Project Arc, was calculating faster than any human could. It was using the alien's own fleet data to adapt its defense in real time. It wasn't just reacting. It was learning. On the alien flagship, Jorah realized the truth. They've merged technology with their world, he said, horrified. They've made their planet into a mind. But before he could issue another command, his ship shuddered. Every console went dark. The holographic stars outside flickered, replaced by a projection, Earth itself, glowing with light. Then, a voice filled the alien ship, calm, cold, and human. This is humanity, it said. You came to conquer. You came to judge. Now you will learn. Every surviving alien ship began to spin uncontrollably, dragged by gravity wells appearing out of nowhere. Earth's magnetic field had turned into a weapon. The fleet that once filled the sky was now falling toward its own destruction. On the vigilant dawn, Ren and his crew watched as the final ships vanished in flames. The silence that followed was deafening. Captain Reyes exhaled. It's over. Ren shook his head slowly. No, it's beginning. Far across the galaxy in the council chamber, chaos erupted. Reports flooded in. Entire fleets gone, communication lines severed, the Varn Dominion collapsing under internal revolts. One alien ambassador shouted, They destroyed 2,000 ships in an hour. Another hissed, They'll come for us next. But one elder among them, the oldest species in the council, spoke quietly. No, they won't come for us. They'll wait. They'll watch. And when we come for them again, they'll be ready. Weeks later, Earth was still repairing the damage. The mirror array had drained the planet nearly dry, but humanity had survived. Lena Hart, now back on Earth after her council trial, stood before a vast window overlooking the ruins of orbit. Pieces of alien hulls floated past like dead stars. She whispered, They'll never stop, will they? Admiral Wren approached, his steps slow, steady. No, but neither will we, she turned to him. The council will call us a threat now. They already did, he said. But the difference is, now they're right. A small smile tugged at her lips. So what happens next? He looked out at the stars. We rebuild. We learn, we prepare. Humanity isn't done surprising the galaxy. Above them, the damaged mirror satellites slowly repositioned, forming a faint silver ring around the planet, a new shield, and a new warning. And across the stars, alien civilizations whispered in fear. The phrase that echoed through every system was simple, almost reverent, almost afraid. They hit the wrong girl. The story of Lena Hart spread faster than any fleet. Songs, stories, even military doctrines began to reference her defiance. The cadet who struck back, the humans who refused to kneel, the species that turned their planet into a weapon. In the Galactic Academy, where new cadets from every world trained, a new rule was quietly written into the handbook: do not provoke a human. And beyond the Council's reach, on the edge of the Milky Way, deep sensors caught something strange. Humanity's ships, small, fast, and newly built, were leaving their system. They weren't running. They were exploring, preparing, because the galaxy had learned one unshakable truth. When humans fight back, the stars themselves listen, and this time, humanity was no longer the frightened newcomer in the Council's hall. They were the storm,